Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman, and I'm fired up about this new series on AI and music. It's a topic on every musician's mind, and for good reason. Over the past few weeks, I've had some incredible conversations with musicians and thought leaders at the forefront of this fast-moving space. Kicking things off is tech executive Clifford Champion, accomplished pianist and a longtime friend. We went straight to the roots. What is AI? Where is it going? And how does it really affect you and the future of music? So as always, let's jump right in. Well, hi, Clifford. How are you?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It seems like we're live from, did you say Shanghai?
That's right. That's right.
Very cool. So we're 12 or 13 hours difference.
Right now, because of daylight savings and so forth, we're 16 hours apart.
Oh my God, what time is it there? Hold on.
Oh, wait, but no, you're in the East Coast now, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
okay. So it's going to be 13 hours apart then.
oh man, I'm sorry it's so late for you. Okay, but you're
No, no,
good.
no, it's good.
But you're a night
I'm
owl,
an,
you said.
I'm an idol. Yeah, it's great.
So, Clifford, what is AI?
Oh, that's a small question. That's a simple question.
Okay.
Firstly, AI stands for artificial intelligence, and the keyword there is intelligence. And in fact, even if you set aside the artificial part, psychologists are in huge disagreement about how to even define human intelligence, let alone artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if we set that aside for a moment, one of the definitions includes an ability to digest and understand information
Mm-hmm.
and then utilize that information in some way that maybe benefits you, maybe brings some joy to you, is somehow constructive.
Mm-hmm.
So if we use that as a form of definition for intelligence, and then we tack on artificial to the front of that,
Mm-hmm.
it's talking about essentially machines that we have created that somehow are able to replicate that type of behavior of understanding information and then somehow doing something useful with that information.
That's very helpful. What's the difference? Most musicians know that you're working on Logic or Final Cut or something or Pro Tools, that it's computer code and all that stuff. Is there a difference between coding for AI or traditional coding, like making a program like Logic?
There is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So since the creation of computers, there's been I'll call it a kind of precision assumption
Mm-hmm.
that when you ask the computer, add one and one, you're
Mm-hmm.
asking it a very precise thing, and it's going to give you a very precise and accurate answer, hopefully two, when you ask it to add one. And that has been the decades and decades of how computers are engineered and thought of. With AI's growing capabilities, it's started to open up a new way of looking at quote unquote programming a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Some might use the word fuzzy logic,
Okay.
in that you are suggesting to the computer what it is that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to interpret that and do its best and return something that hopefully is what you're looking for. It's fuzzy in that sense. It's not precise. Now, under the hood, there's a lot of precision that's happening that we don't see.
Right.
But a layer above that, it's trying to simulate a lot of what makes the human brain, which is a kind of organic imprecision that is not black or white,
Mm-hmm.
such as adding one and one equals two.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've probably heard, your audience has probably heard prompt engineering as kind of a buzzword lately,
Yep.
and even new job titles called prompt
Mm-hmm.
engineer. And essentially, what they are doing is they are developing an intuition
Mm-hmm.
around how to suggest and ask an AI model to return useful results, really exploiting that fuzzy logic type of approach.
Mm-hmm.
There's some inherent limitations behind this, though, that we'll probably get to in a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the fundamental difference: is that black and white
Mm-hmm.
is now shades of gray.
you had mentioned something about the opportunities that exist, I believe. And it was like, new models of fan engagement, um, uh, get an artist that says, "Hey, here's my song," and you want to remix it and make your voice or whatever. Just different ways of using this that actually are help an artist build their business as opposed to just running from it. Can you elaborate on any of that stuff?
Yeah. At a high level, first,
Hmm.
with any new piece of technology, there's first glimmers of the disruption,
Hmm.
then the fear of the disruption, and then the embracing of it, and then brand new paradigms.
Mm.
And everything leading up to the brand new paradigms is very scary.
Yeah.
But when we finally arrive at, oh, here's a new way of engaging with fans, creating content, whatever it
Hmm.
might be, then that's the pot of gold at the end of the tunnel. That's the exciting, truly exciting place, I think. Um, and so there's a couple examples, right? Grimes, among others, she was one of the first to uh, publish her voice clone so that her fans
Mm.
could produce music using her voice likeness. Uh,
Wow.
I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, to be
Right.
honest.
Hmm.
Uh, and some of your listeners may have been following not too long ago when the tech was really starting to emerge. There were these underground communities
Hmm.
where they were training on different artists' vocal likenesses, obviously without their permission. But these are fans that were very,
Yeah.
motivated and producing just some amazing, memorable covers. Like, what
Oh,
would a
interesting.
duet between Miley Cyrus and Michael Jackson sound
Yeah.
like? So it was incredible for fertile creative ground happening,
Uh-huh.
um, and it was so active that to me, it's obvious that there's demand for that, and
Hmm.
that's a new opportunity in itself for fans to enjoy and engage with the artists. And so, much like when Napster first came out,
Oh, wow.
and
Hmm.
music sharing, of course, very illegal,
Yeah.
and ultimately was shut down, the demand for what that experience was didn't go away, and you end up with Pandora and Spotify and
Hmm.
other platforms, right? So I think though these underground communities have kind of been squashed for now, I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
either the right artist or the right startup
Hmm.
can figure out, okay, well, how do we do this the right way, in the same way,
Hmm.
say, Pandora and Spotify did, and then that brings us forward to that new paradigm. And so, if you're an artist out there, I'd actually encourage you to be thinking about how to be the tip of the spear here,
Yeah.
because it's just a huge opportunity, and you may end up with a huge fan base just excited for you having been the first to do X or first to do Y in this brave
Yeah.
new world.
So what is a large language model? And I had written some question here at some point. Is there like one big LLM in the sky, or does every company kind of make their own LLM for the purpose that they have in mind?
Mm-hmm. So let me first contrast an LLM with, maybe call it a small language model.
Hmm.
Um, Half jokingly, I would actually identify the Magic 8 Ball as the
Okay.
very first small language model.
I
You
think that's
ask it a
perfect.
question, you shake it, and you get one of, I don't know, 20 or so responses back
Hmm.
from that Magic 8 Ball. It's a probabilistic model, is
Okay.
the common thread here, right? You shake it, you get a random result. The large language models are essentially doing the same thing, but they're guided a bit more,
Hmm.
and I'll explain that in a second. But a large language model is text in, text out,
Okay.
and back to AI. Hopefully, that text out is useful to you in some way. That's
Hmm.
the design goal of the model. Um, the randomness comes into play with how these large language models are built.
Hmm.
Um, and you can think of it as learning to separate signal from noise.
Hmm.
It's internalizing all of human knowledge, and I put that in quotes
Yeah.
because what that really is everything that it can find on the internet. And we
Hmm.
know that all of human knowledge is more than just what's on the internet, but it's trying to absorb all of the internet and then separate signal from noise. But that's
Mm,
an imperfect process. There's still some randomness and some statistics and some probabilities in
mm,
how that separation happens.
hmm.
Um, and some of it's also by design.
Uh-huh.
Um, um, but the large language model is basically large because it's absorbed all of the internet, and it's a
Gotcha.
language model because it's text in and text out.
Would you just, tell everyone the kind of the short version of yourself, your career path, and maybe your connection to music and tech?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, music and tech both started at a young age. I began tinkering on the piano with my mother's help, maybe around 7 or 8 years old. Began formal lessons when I was 10 or 11,
Hmm.
mostly classically trained. And then I discovered jazz later in life, which is maybe a story for another day.
Hmm.
Um, and then on the engineering and technical side, around that same time, I began tinkering on a computer. I think I wrote my first program when I was 13. This was
Wow.
in the MS-DOS days. Computer screens had maybe 4 or 16 colors at
Hmm.
most. And these two worlds just fascinated me to no end. So, for the better part of a decade on into then my first jobs in industry, I was really just intrinsically motivated to learn as much as I could and
Hmm.
experiment in as much ways as I could in both music and technology. Um, Long story short, after that, I entered the video games industry and then later the VR industry. Kept up with music as a passion, as a hobby. Along the way, did have a couple interesting professional gigs as well, a chance to flex my muscles there. And then later, some producing roles for some animated films and things like that that allow me to, again, bring in music and know how music helps support the storytelling process and work with some great composers along the way as well.
Let's move to the average musician. Um, Say they're trying to understand the let's move to the ethics and maybe the copyright side of this because you I know you had some thoughts about it. So say I've got a little company now and I'm sucking up and training my model and everything on Spotify, and all you can speak into my system or app, or you can text something in, and it gives you results and makes and creates songs for you. Is there, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, the fact that I'm using pieces and parts of hundreds or thousands of songs to make up what we think is something new, but it's really just basically taking other people's music and creating my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few thoughts here. One is a lot of these platforms and distribution platforms, they themselves are there in part to protect the
Hmm.
rights and provide, some monetary compensation back to the artists. And usually there's some terms of service that prevent, at least on paper,
Hmm.
other AI companies from, trying to extract that data and use it for their own purposes.
Hmm.
Um, by and large, that seems to be abused by, I'm not going to say all the tech companies, but a lot of the
Yeah.
tech companies are certainly maybe turning a blind eye or
Hmm.
maybe playing dumb there. That's one aspect to it.
Hmm.
But I think the other aspect that is more interesting is um, an AI, if we liken it to ourselves,
Hmm.
um, an AI is capable of either producing, I'll call it original work,
Hmm.
or plagiarizing,
Hmm.
really in the same way that a human can produce quote unquote original work or plagiarize.
Hmm.
It comes down to a capability that exists in humans and AI.
Hmm.
And therefore, it comes down to, well, what are your ethics, and are you going to, tell the truth or not? Are you going to credit your work or not?
Mhm.
Are
Mhm.
you going to respect and acknowledge, the immense creativity that's come before you or not?
Mhm.
And these are gray area questions. Each era and each society, tend to answer this in a
Mhm.
little bit different ways. But the capability is quite similar, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So then where do you go from there? I think there's a responsibility. Just like
Mhm.
as individuals, we have a responsibility, or I like to think we have a responsibility to
Yeah.
not plagiarize.
Mhm.
I think the tech companies have a similar responsibility.
Mhm.
Um, I'm dodging one other aspect of this, though,
Nah,
which
don't dodge it.
is which is what is an original work.
Yeah.
It's really hard to define what is an original work.
Well, this could
We
be a long discussion in itself because as I was listening to you, I thought of a couple of things. And what I call, when I was a musician, before I was a composer, I was a guitarist. And my style was the culmination or the aggregate of listening to Jeff Beck and, Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and everything. So basically, they were my training model. They were my AI, right? And out of that came my style. So it was original, but it was based on others. So I mean, I didn't walk around saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, that solo I just did was basically, these four guys." Or, you know, it's a complicated question, isn't it? Uh, I guess part of it maybe is when you're using like Sono and some of these other, music gen apps, you know, not taking credit for the fact that you wrote it all. I do know musicians, I'll be talking to one in a little while, that, excuse me, he uses it um, as just a tool within his writing, you know, um, not unlike having a drum machine or a drum program in Logic, which, right, the guy, you use slate drums and it's actual real drummers, but you don't, you write your music and at the end it's your music. It's not, it's my music, but I use this, slate drums. I mean, does that sort of follow along with what you're talking about?
I think it does. But the other aspect of it, the other
Mhm.
aspect of it is technology begets more technology in an exponential way.
Mhm.
And think back to 200 years ago, um, creativity could be highly rewarded and defensible in that it was difficult to quickly copy or replicate, mass produce
Right.
some truly creative piece of work. And we're at an interesting point in time where the economics, maybe for the past
Mhm.
few decades, have
Mhm.
supported just incredible creativity in music and in other areas of life. But with replicability so easy and so cheap through generative AI,
Mhm.
it starts to, at least for me, trigger some concern about just the entire economic structure of supporting
Yes.
creativity at that point.
Yeah. If you were an artist today, uh, and you are not a corporate tech wizard kind of guy, um, and you're just getting into AI and music, then you listen to this. What do you think my first steps or your first steps might be to get into this and start understanding?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's say you're a singer songwriter or a composer.
Hmm.
You are already producing some work. Maybe you've been doing it for years, or maybe you're just getting started. First, have some understanding of what is your voice, your creative voice.
Hmm.
And with that as kind of a grounding for you, then literally try every single AI tool out there that you can and see,
Hmm.
can this achieve something that feels like my voice? And that'll accomplish two things in my mind. One, if you find that tool, then that
Hmm.
becomes a multiplier for your creative voice, which is
Right.
just going to help you move faster. Um, Secondly, it's also going to equip you with just knowledge of the general ecosystem and the industry, because the technology is going to change the industry. And
Hmm.
so there's the creative centering on your unique voice. But
Hmm.
if you're making a career out of this, you also have to understand where the industry is headed. So, but start from a creative place and use
Hmm.
that as a way to really test and benchmark what AI is capable of today.
In other words, you don't need to know how AI works. You just need to use all of the different tools to help you find that creative voice. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, yeah. There's
Mhm.
we have plenty of PhDs in math and computer science to handle all the
Yeah.
complicated. It's those lifetimes of research there. So if your
Yeah.
passion is music and creativity, then
Hmm.
learn what the tools are capable of. That's probably the best way to spend your time.
Clifford, I can't thank you enough, brother. It's nice to see you. It's just we have to get on a different call and just catch up on life, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
anytime. It's always a
yep.
pleasure.
And then you said you're going to have a transition at some point here. We'll get on the line and talk about that too.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, man. You take care. Yeah, I guess it's time for you to go watch the late night show, and it's time for me to watch the morning show.
That sounds good.